Sup, nerd. Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to SupCast here with me, Adam, also known as Tuna. And we're joined here today by our gaming editor from SupNerd itself, Carlo Coloma, also known as Jittah, is it?
Yep.
I've always wanted to ask you, what is Jittah? What's it based on?
It's a cut down of my old nickname because I used to be Jitterbug because I used to get startled easily, and it needed to be shorter and shorter. So that's how that ended up being.
There we go. Got a cool little trivia here today as well. All right, so we're here today to actually talk about the Book of Boba Fett, which has just finished its 7-episode run on Disney Plus. We usually wait about 2 weeks before we do these kind of spoilerific podcasts, but we gotta talk about it. So here we go. Spoilers warning for the Book of Boba Fett. We're just gonna start with Carlo. Was it worth the hype? What do you think about the hype before it was it came into fruition? Was it worth it after you've seen the whole series?
I think the series was all right. It was just a little slow, especially in a few areas, especially episodes 4, 5, and 6. But just having Boba on screen was fun. I think hype is it's hard to live up to the hype these days because Mando season 1 and 2 were so big, and they're obviously building this shared universe for these characters living in that era. So it's a mix for me. I'd say that for me, while I enjoyed the series, it didn't live up to the hype just because I had too many expectations.
I mean, that's a good segue into the next question I got, which is what were the fans expecting? What was the hype about? What kind of an adventure were people looking forward to when they heard about? At the end of Mando season 2, we got that teaser. Boba Fett returns in the Book of Boba Fett, and everybody went crazy. But what was the general, expectation from the fans?
I mean, if you're talking to me, I was expecting Boba to be fighting a lot more. I wasn't expecting so much exposition and sort of character building, especially with a character that's been around for so long. And the other thing was the last time you saw him kind of in his armor, the last 2 times in Mando, you saw him kind of kicking ass, especially when he first got the armor back while they were trying to rescue Grogu. So, watching, I get why they wanted to tell a story of how he found his tribe and all that, but I don't know, little too much, too little action. Sorry, is the right way to put it.
Too little action. Yeah, I think that's the general complaint about the series. But okay, let's go back to Mando season 2 for a bit, where I think that was episode. Was it 6 or was it 7 when we saw Slave 1, but it's actually the name has changed now. When we saw the ship and then we see him in the Tusken outfit, got that armor. You were right. He kicked ass. That was the Boba that everybody wanted to see on screen for the past, 40 plus years. But the funny thing though is Boba never was kick ass in the films on screen. That the adventures we've heard of him being a badass, it's through the books, the comics, which is how I got to love the character. A little background. I'm not that big of a fan. I might lose some nerd points here, but not that big of a fan of the original trilogy or even Star Wars in general. But Boba was just a character that kind of I don't know. It kind of spoke to me. I mean, you can see the little Boba collection that I got up there as well, my little toys and action figurines. Yeah. But Boba was really badass in the comics and the other, novelizations and all that. And the lore was big, but we never got to see him. Even in the animated series, he was never there, to show us how badass he is.
Well, I mean, Boba Fett was an extended universe kind of guy, right? It was before they made everything Star Wars Legends, which stupid still, I think. But yeah, you really got to see sort of the prototype for him in Clone Wars, etc., with Jango Fett, right?
Yeah, Jango was another.
But yeah, that's the sad part because I guess a lot of us that have seen the extended universe stuff kind of understood that Boba was that badass, and they had an opportunity to sort of build him up into that a little bit instead of
Mhm.
just a couple of scenes here and there and just a couple of episodes here and there, especially in his own standalone series. So that was a bit of a disappointment.
Well, I mean, the core, like you mentioned, right? The core of the series that they're trying to tell the story is that, like, old man finds his tribe, which we basically what the story is about, where Boba got old. Instead of being like a loner, badass bounty hunter, he finally found his tribe. And I mean, that also leads into the how he was actually, kind of in a way saved after he escaped the Sarlacc pit by the Tuscan, like, the tribe itself. So uh, going back a little bit to the Sarlacc pit, there's a lot of people who were like, I don't know what people were expecting. I think this is the main kind of like complaints that we hear all the time. We're like, it's not what we wanted. But when they showed Boba escaping the pit, what else were you were fans expecting? What about you personally? Did you expect it to be like kind of different, where it was, I don't know, in a different way that he escaped it, or well, is there an issue for you?
I thought it was fine, to be honest. I mean, he was supposed to be digested over what 1,000 years or something like that,
Right.
right? So I mean, the only way you're gonna get out of a creature like that is what he did. Like I didn't take too much issue with the escape. I
Right.
also understood that they had to figure out a way to just not make that last too long. Which again then goes, it's then why did so many other things in the other episodes last so long when they were able to cut that kind of part down pretty fast.
Yeah, I mean, that was pretty fast, and even though the show itself, like what you mentioned, it's slow from the beginning. I do feel like the first 4 episodes, it was 3 episodes, it was kind of like they were jumping back and forth, like how he escaped the pit and how he found the tribe, and then how in the present kind of a timeline where he and Fennec Chan were like trying to take over from, like, being the, what's the term that they use again? Daimyos? It's a very Japanese thing, right? Where they're like the
Daimyo.
daimyo, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um, it is a slow burner, but overall, if you look at it at all 7 episodes, didn't work. Like the pacing. I'm talking about the pacing here. Didn't
Nah, it
work.
didn't work. The
Didn't
pacing
work for
didn't
you?
work. Too slow.
Is it because it's like a weekly thing as well? Because I heard some people who waited until all 7 episodes were out and then they binged it. It they said like it worked better for them, and they didn't find like the pacing thing an issue when they watch it, like, from 1 to 7 straight up, like sit down, well, 7 hours.
I don't know, man. I felt like the other recent show I binged on was The Witcher, but I could have watched The Witcher in weekly episodes, Witcher season two, and I felt like each episode would have kept me on the hook for more.
Right.
Whereas the end of every Boba Fett episode, like episodes 1 to 6, I'm kind of just left with that feeling of instead of being excited, it's kind of like, ah, damn it, they stopped here again, didn't they? So I gotta wait till next week.
Right. I mean, they did well with Mando, but Mando is like a different kind of a series as well, because it's more like a story of the week kind of a feel for Mando, especially for season one. Later on, there are like, connected like episodes and the threads where we get to see like a bigger picture. For Boba, I think they were just telling like one big story, but they're trying to like juggle it as well. Um, that leads us to, like, where the first 3 or 4 episodes, it was like, okay, building onto something, and then episode 5 happened. How did you find episode 5?
It was good. It started to be a little bit more fun. And it's always fun to see surprise appearances, right? But I think it's well, I mean, episode 5 specifically, I was pretty good with, but I think and we'll talk about episode 6 later. I think there were a little too many times they again made it sort of like Book of Boba Fett was sort of a bridge show to Mando season 3.
Yeah,
I really
exactly.
felt like it was a little bit too much. I mean, like, do you really need to see, Din Djarin
Jared.
doing dark saber training in the Boba Fett show for
It's,
basically an entire episode?
I mean, it's
It's
true. Where at 5 onwards, it just have turned into Mando season 2.5. It's like you said, a bridging thing, right? But I
which disappointed me because there was just a lot of potential to kind of follow that Mandalorian season one format where each episode was its sort of like self-fulfilling arc.
mm, right.
Where there are many Western stories as well, right? Because he's back on Tatooine, he's sort of not interested in sort of the galactic, galactic bullshit. He's doing his own thing, and the slowness of episodes 1 to 4, and then sort of it becoming, like you said, Mando 2.5, episodes 5 to 7, just kind of pissed me off. 7 was okay because 7 is back to sort of him, and we got all the fighting. We can talk about that later. But episodes 5 to 6 really felt like they just wanted to sell Mando season 3, which I thought they could have just done in Mando season 3.
Right.
All of those scenes could have literally happened in Mando season 3, and it would have been fine.
I think what they're trying to do, where when you mentioned that compared to Mando, where it's like a weekly storyline kind of a thing, like standalone-ish, right? The adventures of Boba Fett, where he's being a badass, like a bounty hunter or whatever he does each storyline per episode. I don't think this is where they're going with. Like for Farvo and like Filoni, like what they're trying to do is sort of like this is a filler as well. It's not even it's not going to be a continuous series, right? It's basically in between, like you mentioned, Mando 2.5. So they wanted to tell like a slightly longer story for Boba, who's sort of like he's a supporting character in the Mando series. So this is like a special. That's why maybe if you sit down and watch all 7 episodes as like one shot. Imagine like a comic series, like a one-shot thing. It would work better, I feel, right? So, because F5, it's a little bit, for me personally, yes, it's fun, but it does defeat the purpose of calling the series, the Book of Boba Fett, and just like one full episode without Boba Fett at all. It just feels kind of weird. Mando being part of the story is great, but they did not show. I might be mistaken, but they did not show even a shot of Boba in F5, right? Did he?
I can't
It was
remember
all
clearly.
Mando.
I can't remember it clearly, but I do not remember very much of Boba in episode 5. So
Yeah,
that's clearly, and I think it was kind of stupid to do that. And the other thing is, sure, I get what you're saying about how they're trying to build story around Mando, but then they should have leaned in more toward his childhood as well and his sort of early bounty hunting days, and mix that in with the Tusken stuff. Because
oh, you mean like for Boba, right?
Yeah, for Boba,
Yeah.
sorry, and they just dragged out the Sand Raider thing way too far, way too long.
Yeah, for some reason, right? I know it's only 3 episodes, but the first 3 episodes felt like it was longer than 3 episodes. I don't know why. The first 3 episodes, the Rancor showed up in episode 4, right? Danny Trejo.
I can't remember. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Rancor. Okay. Those are little like, I mean, Danny's not playing a known Star Wars character, right? He's just like a random guy who trains.
Yeah.
But the little cameos, and not little, but like the cameos. How did you feel about that? Starting from like, episode 6 as well. How did you feel about the cameos?
The cameos are fine. It's good to see them, and I mean, if they're going to give Din Djarin his own damn episode, it was clear that people that got their other shows like Ahsoka would need a little bit of a push as well, even though she's in on screen for maybe like 4 minutes, right? The CGI deep fake Luke looked a lot better this time around.
Right.
His
compared to like Mando season 2.
It didn't look like his teeth and mouth weren't properly moving anymore.
Did you know about that little trivia where for the Luke thing, there was one dude who redid it for the deep fake? They're like, the one in Mando season 2 was like not good enough and redid it, and Lucasfilm saw that and hired him. So maybe that's why for Book of Boba Fett, the deepfake is much better.
Might be it. It also might just, it's probably also just a little bit of playing with the tech as well, right? That could have
Yeah,
been it.
they're learning how to use it proper, I guess.
Because they had to do it a bit more properly because everything was like they had more close-ups and stuff of Luke this time around
Yeah, it was pretty good, man. I was
compared
like,
compared to the end of Mando season 2, where sure he's on screen, but most of the time he's in a hood, and when he does speak, he's a little further. He he's not looking super close. They're not having side to side shots of him and Ahsoka and all that. So it
I
was
mean,
good.
that a lot. There are some fans actually going slightly like happy crazy about the scene with Asuka and like Luke. This is the first time for them meeting proper, right? Because again,
Yeah,
I'm not that well versed with the Clone Wars and all that stuff, but I know that Asuka and Anakin got history there because she's like the apprentice and all that stuff. So, is this the first time that Luke and Asuka meeting, like that we see on screen together like that?
I'm not entirely sure because in Mando season 2, like she gives him the clue of where to find that temple for so that Grogu could contact Luke, right? Or
Right.
send out that call signal to the Jedi. I'm not sure if Ahsoka had already met Luke by the time. Probably not because she was on that damn planet hunting people. Because she's still hunting for Thrawn, right?
I mean, it's not just the
So
history; it's more like in the media, like whether we've seen it in like either the animated
no, there's nowhere
series or
there's nowhere they met before that because
right,
because before that it was Clone Wars. It was with Anakin, and then she went into hiding because then she was in Rebels afterwards, right?
right.
There's Rebels, Clone Wars, and yeah, I'm not. They've never officially met in media as much as I know,
Okay.
and this would have been the first time to do it. Yeah.
And speaking about like characters from the animated series and all, how did you feel about Cad Bane showing up at the end of like Ep 6?
They fucking did my boy Cat dirty. That was bad.
Why? When he showed up or at in
No, the
episode
end.
7?
The
Ah,
end.
okay.
It was good to see him show up, you know, kind of mess with Cobb. But yeah, he died way too easy. And
Okay.
there what go ahead.
Now like Cobb was actually way cooler here in that short couple of scenes compared to like his role in like Mando season 2. Because I don't know why. Like, think about it. Oh no, think it through. Think it through. Freaking cool, man. He I don't know. I thought he was super cool in this like series, and then he got shot.
Well, that's probably why they're gonna give him extended they're probably gonna give him what you call it?
I don't think he's gonna get
Freaking
his own
spin-off.
series though, right? I don't think he's getting a spin-off, but I think he'll just show up again. He's a character that's gonna live on. And unlike who was the cancel one?
I mean, he's about to get modded, and he's been in the back to tank, so he's getting
Oh
free
yeah, he's
mods.
gonna get modded by Thundercat.
Yeah,
That was cool though. It was like like that. Cat, how I okay. This is what I feel about Cat. I feel that he got into the series a little late. I mean, it's only a 7 episode series, right? We only got to see him at the end of 6 and then like a part of like 7. He's so badass. He should have been there since like episode 4 or 5. He should have been around and like doing like badass stuff. Because I mean, they did the character design right, man. I don't know. I thought that he looked really good. The voice acting, everything, the tone, so cool. And the shots, especially in episode 7 with the glares and all that stuff. Freaking hell, man. That was amazing.
well, the voice acting was 100% good as well, right? I
Yeah,
mean, Cad should have been the overarching villain. If they're gonna bring out
right?
somebody like that, they should have been he should have been at least a secondary antagonist, not some dude that
Yeah,
just
like I
randomly
mentioned,
shows
like
up.
in the middle of the season, like he should have been like there already and like started like racking shit up.
Well,
Not
he
just
should
show
he
up at
should have
the end
killed
of
the
6.
Tuskens, man. He should have been the one to kill the Tuskens.
Yeah, that would have been cool as well. I mean, that now it's
But
just like
I
uh
thought it was a little silly. The way they brought him in, which hyped up a lot of people again, especially from Clone Wars, Bad Batch, etc. And because Cad's a bad man. Cad used to fuck with the Jedi and shit, right? Like he's a force of nature, and it kind of felt silly that he got taken out with a fucking walking stick.
no, but okay.
Uh,
I actually kind of like the showdown between Boba and Cat, but I don't think it was well earned. It wasn't long enough for I mean, yeah, they had history. I mean,
Yeah,
in
but
the
nobody knows that history. That's the problem.
unless you actually read up or
Yeah.
the lore, and that deleted episode or like unaired episode where you see Boba and Cat shoot out, and then Boba got that dent in his helmet because Cat shot it. So
Yeah.
they have history. It would have been cool, like I mentioned, if the series were like about 8 episodes, and Cat turned out to be the main baddie by ep 4 or 5, and then we get to see him like build it up, and then at the end, I don't mind the walking stick because it does bring back to the core of the series where Boba actually found his drive with the Tusken, that he went through the ritual, so he used that to actually defeat his supposedly biggest rival. That kind of worked for me. It's just that like the rivalry wasn't earned enough on screen for this season, this series. Sorry, yeah, that's how I feel.
And that's most of the series. I think that's most of the issue with the series. A lot of the rivalries and a lot of the things that happen don't feel earned. Um, like the reunion between Grogu and Din doesn't feel
This
earned. He
guy,
just shows up. Yeah, he just shows up. There's no sort of big emotional reveal, especially considering like it was actually pretty touching when Din chose to leave Grogu behind without seeing him. And then so it cheapened it when Grogu just got sent by R2 Taxi.
R2D2 shows up like hello
to Tatooine.
Yeah.
And then there was a Cad versus Django thing. I think Fennec Shand was pretty underused.
Dude, she
Throughout
was
most of
so
the
badass at
series.
the severely OP in the sort of like an epilogue assassination scene, which was like
Yeah,
she took out
so
everybody. It was like you could have sent her like 4 episodes ago. Just take care of them,
yeah,
She
so
was so
I think
badass.
that's where again the show kind of fails in its pacing and stuff because episode 7 you see a bunch of cool stuff everybody can do, but then it boils down to like suddenly Fennec Shand is a deadly assassin again. Grogu can make a ranker go to sleep and also use the Force to like help beat the droid. And all of these things, it's just these could have been paced much better.
I mean,
It's still an enjoyable series, but I feel like it's one of those that it's not something I'm going to remember a lot. I think they're definitely going to bring in Mando and Fennec around Boba Fett and Fennec around
right?
for Mando season 3 just to return the favor probably. But I don't know if I'm satisfied with sort of how the whole series went down. Because I mean, now you've also got characters like Chrysanthemum. You barely got any screen time. They're supposed to be a crazy Wookiee badass. It's, I mean, at this point, like I'm kind of like, I'd like to know more about the mods too. Like, what the hell are they
Really?
doing?
You like the mods?
Yeah, they're fine. They're fine. Just you need a little bit of backstory about them. I
Well,
mean,
backstory, yeah, I guess so. But there are some iconic looking like shots, especially in episode 7, where you see like everybody being badass. Boba riding the Rancor, Jin and like Din Djarin and Boba flying out, shooting down the pike syndicate. Those are like iconic looks, but it does come back down to the whole how these Star Wars like movies, even some series work as well, right? I feel they always had like issues with storytelling, but you do get like occasional badassery and iconic scenes that will live on in like people's heads, and like they'll build up their own lore and like imagination. I think that's how Star Wars work, and in that sense, I think Book of Boba Fett it worked. I feel that the storytelling is much better than like the other Star Wars films for sure. I mean, I'm gonna get flack for that, but like I think
I
it's
mean,
way better.
if you're talking about episodes 7 to 9, sure. I don't know what you're talking about if you're talking about episodes 4 to 6, because
Oh, I'm
especially Empire
definitely
Strikes
talking
Back is
about
still the best.
4 and 6. The
Yeah, so I
writing
don't
and all that is
understand where
bad.
I don't get that. Like that's the kind of thing you build your imagination around, especially episode 5. Like I do, that sounds insane to me. Like I can even agree episodes 1 to 3 because that's just George Lucas going off the reservation. But the original trilogy still holds a special place. And you got to see the proper hero's journey from Luke from episode 4 to 6, where none of that really felt like it existed for the other two. I mean, the prequel and the sequels.
Oh, a lot
Um,
of people are loving the prequels now. I mean, this could be like an interesting, like a special podcast episode where we get some fans. Me personally, I don't think like the original trilogy, it's nothing special. I don't think like, it doesn't like stick to me. I watched it when I was a bit older, so maybe that was the issue. I
they were
never
bad.
worked.
You're talking about episodes 1 to 3, right?
No, four, five, six.
Four. Well, I mean, that sounds like a you problem because I think they're great. Um, Too much Wookiee in episode 6. Other than that, I
Too
mean,
much Wookiee. No, Ewoks.
sorry, Ewoks. My bad.
Ewoks. No, the Ewoks.
But
We never get to see
I
the
think
Ewoks again, huh?
no need. They can stay
They
in
never
Andor.
brought him
Fuck 'em.
back. Or Jar Jar Binks. They should.
I mean, Jar Jar Binks got plenty of showtime in Clone Wars, so he's okay.
Oh, I
Um,
never watched actually. Oh yeah, he became like a part of the Senate or something like that,
yeah.
right?
That happens in episode 3 or 2 already.
Oh, is it?
Um,
Can't remember.
yeah, it happens in the
Wow.
prequel movies.
All right, but so back to my point being like, for Mando with the iconic stuff, I mean, it's not Mando, Boba, the series itself with the iconic scenes and stuff that went down, I think it worked. If you're comparing it to like Mando season 1 and 2, sure, it's definitely not up to that level with like, some cool stuff. Uh, if people are expecting to see more of like the old Boba, not old, but the younger Boba Fett of like the old lore, maybe they can do a different series. I think the story they were trying to tell with this series is very different from, again, what the fans were expecting, I guess. Maybe, I don't know, the reviews are kind of like mixed as well right now. There are some people who actually like it worked. The series worked, but there are some who are like, nope, this is like the worst thing ever. But then again, that's how fandom works, right? It's two
Yeah, like I said,
extremes.
I mean, I enjoyed the majority of the show, but I look at it as a giant wasted opportunity. Is the problem? Um, Things with pacing and the improper use of really, really popular characters from the extended universe
You're
and from the
salty for
cartoon
Cat
series.
Bane, right? You're still
It
salty
does.
for
It's a
Cat Bane.
waste. It's a waste. Like
Well, did he really die though? I mean, we did hear like
no,
a
I don't think he
death
actually
rattle, but
died.
like
I don't think he died because that heart thing was beeping.
yeah, I see the little
So
heartbeat. Yeah.
so I don't think he died. He'll probably come back and do something stupid. But the yeah, but for the most part, yeah, I'd rate it like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. I mean, it wasn't fantastic, but it was
I mean
entertaining.
that's still like a pretty generous score. So I would give it about like 7.5. For
Mm.
some certain like episodes, I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. But like overall, yeah, 7.5 out of 10 should be okay for me. Where do you think the like Mando season 3 will go from here? Since initially we were thinking like end of Mando season 2, we're like, oh, what's gonna happen? Season 3 is gonna be him Mando going on his solo adventures, but now it's not. It's gonna be Mando season 1 and 2 again, but they don't have any like big arcing, mission. Where do you think
No,
it's
no,
headed?
no, 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 no. His big mission was from episode 5. He's got to redeem himself in front of the Mandalorians. That's probably going to be season 3.
Ah, with the dark
How are you going
saber.
to miss that, man? Yeah, like
Dark
no,
saber.
he
Ah.
not just the dark saber, but he got banished from the traditional
But he
Mandalorians at the
doesn't
end of that
want to,
episode.
right? He doesn't. It seemed to me like he actually had chosen, like taking care of the child over his other responsibilities as a Mandalorian.
Were we watching the same episode? Because in that episode, he was asking how he can redeem himself. He was apologizing to the other Mandalorian, the armor. Like,
Dahmer?
how did you not get that part in episode 5,
Oh,
where
is it during the
she banishes
fighting?
him? No, it's after. And she asks if you've ever taken off your mask and he asked for forgiveness. Like, did you watch that? Or did we miss this?
I think like I
Like,
just faded out by then. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a very, very big thing to fade out on because
Hmm.
he clearly wants to redeem himself in front of those Mandalorians and get his honor back. So he's probably going to go back to Mandalore. I suggest rewatching that if you missed that part.
Okay. Maybe I'll go check that out. I don't know. I was actually more invested in like Boba and like Fennec by then. I
Mhm.
don't know. Yeah.
I'd
So
go check
that's
it out.
where
That's a pretty big plot point. Yeah,
ah. So you think that that's where they're headed for season three?
parts of it. Yeah,
Hmm.
but they got to figure out what to do with his dark saber and Grogu's random force powers and how he
It was
figures them
funny
out
though.
because
I was expecting more from Grogu. I thought he was gonna pull some Yoda shit, but he just like pulled a little bolt out, like boop.
I mean, I don't think you can expect that from him if he chose Din and he's not really unlocked what his locked force abilities are, right?
Hmm?
He only really uses them like gets really, really strong with them when he's angry, which one of the rare moments was when he was in the guard, like when he was beating up the guards, make him fly around in the room when he was in I think the last episode of Mando season 2. So I don't think Grogu is gonna have unless Din's like in super danger or like he's about to die. Like I don't think Grogu
Yeah, I
does
think
anything like
it's not
crazy.
much of a, like a anger thing, but it's more like he wants to protect like
Hmm.
Mando or something like he most of the time he uses power when he wants to protect Mando, right?
For the most part, yeah,
Yeah, like,
I'd
but
say so.
again, I was hoping like he would just do like a little jumping thing or something like that because he was showing like with Luke, he was jumping around in that little pond.
Yeah, but I mean, if he does that, I mean, he doesn't have a weapon though, right? He clearly chose the shirt
Kind of
over
cool.
the lightsaber, so
For a
he
moment,
can't.
I thought he was actually gonna pick up the dark saber because he was trying to do something. I was like, oh,
Hmm.
is he gonna do something like that? I mean, that sequence was fun. Like we had like the Rancor doing the King Kong thing overall. I don't know. The Pike Syndicate. Are you familiar with the Pike Syndicate?
Nope, not too
Never
familiar.
heard of it as well.
So
It's part of the
there
lore.
yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I missed out on or
Yeah,
just don't
again,
remember.
I'm not well versed with like the stuff, but I think it's okay that they're sort of like the background. Again, my main issue would be just like Cat being at the end, end of episode 6. If it were until episode 8, they could have like made him like way cooler. But even then, I'm still overall. I think I'm quite happy with this. I'm a big Boba fan, but I'm I'm not that disappointed with the whole series.
Yeah,
7.5, I would
it
say.
was okay. I think my
Yeah, it was
final
not
word
like,
now is it was okay.
it was not like a as cool as that episode when Boba got his armor back in Mando. But yeah, again, it is Star Wars. You can't. What more? What more can we expect? Yeah.
Well, hopefully, what we can expect is that now they just use Boba as a side character when they need someone to help fight.
Hmm.
I think
What if
I wouldn't watch a second season of him on Tatooine unless they dramatically improve the storytelling and the pacing.
what if they do something like that film that nobody talks about, Solo, and they cast like a younger actor just to do Solo Adventures of Boba Fett? You think that'll work?
Yeah, I'd probably watch that.
Maybe they can do like an animated series. Like,
Possibilities are endless, especially since they did Bad Batch.
oh
So
yeah. I didn't get to finish as well. Did you finish that series?
not yet,
I heard that
because
Cat showed up as well.
yeah, I'm refinishing the Clone Wars again before I
Good
catch.
God, isn't there like about how many seasons? How many episodes? 100?
It's a lot of them.
Man, good luck with that, dude. Okay, so I think we're just gonna end the podcast here. Thanks again, Carlo, for joining us here
Cool,
at
no problem, man.
SupCast for the Book of Boba Fett. Next week, we are probably going to be talking about the Peacemaker. So I'm excited about that. Have you been watching that?
Nope, not even a
Not at
single
all.
episode.
Oh my goodness, dude.
Is it done yet? I'll watch it when it's done.
Next week, next Thursday, it's going to be done. You saw Suicide Squad, right?
The new one,
That
I have not.
oh, okay.
So
You
I'm
need
way
to watch
behind.
that first,
Yeah.
and then
So
watch Peacemaker. So it's only like 8
Okay.
episodes. It's worth it. If you like action and all that stuff, this would be the show for you. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Cool. All right.
All right,
Thank
catch you
you for
later.
listening, guys. We'll catch you guys next time. Take care. Bye.
Sup, nerd.